Imagine you claim you've infiltrated one of the most secretive hacker groups in the world. You say you've unmasked their leaders. And within 2 days, that same group is inside your own systems. They're watching you through your own cameras. They leak your private emails. They crush your company. This isn't fiction. This is the day Anonymous hunted its own hunter. Title card: When Anonymous Struck Back, the Fall of Aaron Barr and HBGary. Backdrop: the rise of Anonymous and digital activism. To understand why Aaron Barr's claims set off such a firestorm, you have to understand who Anonymous was and what they stood for. Anonymous was never a typical organization. No hierarchy, no structure, no single leader. It was a digital swarm. Hackers, activists, pranksters, and freedom advocates united by one principle: information wants to be free. Their creed was simple: unmask corruption, fight censorship, defend free speech, and mock authority. They were unpredictable, sometimes idealistic, sometimes chaotic, always defiant. Before 2011, Anonymous had already made headlines. They'd launched massive attacks on Scientology. They'd flooded corporate websites in retaliation for censorship. They'd fought for internet freedom around the globe. By 2011, the internet was boiling with political energy. WikiLeaks was leaking government secrets. Arab Spring protests were shaking regimes. And governments were racing to tighten control over digital spaces. Anonymous became the face of rebellion in a connected age, an idea that couldn't be shut down. And in that volatile climate, when a cybersecurity CEO claimed he had unmasked them, it wasn't just a challenge, it was war. Aaron Barr and HBGary Federal, the man who wanted to expose the exposers. Aaron Barr was the ambitious CEO of HBGary Federal, a cybersecurity contractor that worked closely with U.S. government agencies. He believed he could do what no one else could: pierce the veil of Anonymous. Using social media analysis, pattern tracking, and network mapping, Barr claimed he could connect hacker aliases from IRC chats, Twitter threads, and forums to real-world identities. He thought Anonymous had a small, organized hierarchy, maybe 20 to 40 key players, and that he had found their leaders. He named a few: Q, Owen, Commander X, and said he'd link them to real people living in the US. His plan? Present these findings at a security conference, hand them to federal agencies, and show that HBGary could unmask anyone, even the internet's most secretive group. It was part of a larger strategy to win major government contracts and establish his company as a top-tier cyber intelligence player. Behind the scenes, HBGary was also developing proposals with other firms to influence online discourse, manipulate journalists, and discredit groups like WikiLeaks. In February 2011, the Financial Times published Barr's bold claims. Within hours, his name spread across hacker circles, and within 24 hours, Anonymous was preparing a counterattack. The strike. Anonymous strikes back, harder than anyone expected. Anonymous didn't take days. They struck within 48 hours. Fast, precise, and merciless. They used a combination of social engineering, phishing, and SQL injection to breach HBGary's systems. They tricked system admins, exploited reused passwords, and cracked encrypted files. First, they defaced HBGary's website, replacing it with a mocking message declaring they had bitch-slapped the company. Then they hijacked Aaron Barr's personal Twitter account, posting his private emails and contact info for the world to see. But that was only the beginning. Anonymous had infiltrated the company's internal servers. They downloaded more than 70,000 emails, revealing private correspondence, internal plans, and confidential documents. The emails exposed controversial projects, plans to discredit WikiLeaks, ideas to manipulate social media sentiment, even proposals to spy on activists and journalists on behalf of corporate clients. They wiped company backups, deleted databases, and even compromised Barr's personal devices. His iPad, iPhone, and LinkedIn accounts were reportedly taken over or wiped entirely. Some members of Anonymous claimed they had access to Barr's webcam, that they watched him as he realized what was happening. Whether or not that's true, it became part of hacker legend. For over 30 hours, they quietly observed his internal communications, watching as panic spread through HBGary's ranks. At one point, company president Penny Levy entered an IRC chat room to plead with Anonymous to stop. The hackers made their demands clear: fire Aaron Barr, issue a public apology, and donate to the legal defense of whistleblower Bradley Manning. Anonymous framed the entire attack as poetic justice, a punishment for arrogance, hypocrisy, and corruption. And when the emails were released publicly, the narrative flipped overnight. The hunter had become the hunted. The fallout: collapse, resignation, and public exposure. Within days, the damage was catastrophic. HBGary's clients and partners distanced themselves immediately. Barr resigned, claiming he needed to rebuild his life. HBGary Federal lost its credibility, its contracts, and soon after, its existence. The leaked emails showed the firm's involvement in questionable operations, astroturfing campaigns, psychological manipulation, and attempts to silence journalists. It wasn't just a hack, it was an unmasking of the private cyber industry itself. Congressional inquiries followed. The media dissected every email. And in hacker culture, Anonymous had just scored one of its most famous victories. The message was loud and clear. Even the defenders of cybersecurity can be undone by their own hubris. Lessons in cyber power, ethics, and asymmetry. This event wasn't just digital drama. It was a masterclass in the realities of cyber power. Asymmetry of cyber warfare. A loosely organized group of hackers destroyed a government-linked cybersecurity firm in days. Skill and creativity beat money and hierarchy. Ethics of private cyber contractors. The emails exposed how easily defense can blur into manipulation, propaganda, and surveillance. Who holds these actors accountable? The power of leaks. Once the data was out, it couldn't be contained. Every plan, every secret, public forever. Hubris as downfall. Barr believed he could expose anonymity. Instead, anonymity exposed him. The incident also marked a turning point in hacker culture. The subgroup within Anonymous responsible for the attack would later form LulzSec, the infamous crew behind hacks on Sony, PBS, and the CIA. Their motto: laughing at your security since 2011. What about now? Legacy and modern relevance. More than a decade later, the echoes of that story are everywhere. Disinformation, surveillance, online psyops, corporate data leaks. The same dynamics that HBGary embodied have only grown stronger and more dangerous. The concept of unmasking online actors remains at the center of modern cyber conflict. From cryptocurrency tracing to social media doxing, the battle between transparency and privacy rages on. Barr eventually returned to the cybersecurity world. Quieter, more private, more cautious. Some of the Anonymous and LulzSec members were arrested, others became informants, and a few disappeared back into the internet. But the spirit of Anonymous, that defiant mix of chaos, activism, and rebellion, still flickers in corners of the web. Closing reflection. When you look at how governments, corporations, and hackers operate today, with digital propaganda, zero-day exploits, AI surveillance, and online disinformation, the HBGary hack feels like prophecy. It was a warning shot from the future. A reminder that in the world of cyber power, arrogance is a liability, that control is an illusion, and that sometimes the prey becomes the predator. Fade out. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget.